middle as well. Can I please ask that you put your mobile phones and other devices on silent out of respect for the speakers? Hands up if this is your first time to either WPLDN or to any WordPress meetup. Excellent, thank you for coming, well done. There will be some photography taken tonight, mainly of the speakers, but also of the audience as well, going wild, showing appreciation, asking great questions and so on. So if you don't want to be in the photographs, kind of let either myself know, or Dan, who is in the red top there, is one of the organisers, or Paul, who's in the grey top there, he's one of the other organisers. My name's Gary, by the way. Oh look, magic. So yeah, that's the host. Diane's not here today, she's a bit unwell, so hi Diane, I'm sure you're watching. Yeah, that's us. If you've got any feedback, if you've got any proposals for talks you'd like to give, if you've any issues, either for tonight or generally, sponsorship, anything like that, come and see one of us, and we'll be able to kind of move you forwards on that. Now, we do have some sponsors that goes towards paying for the pizzas and so on. So the first one is Plesk, the power to simplify, build, secure, and run your apps and websites. Guess who didn't put their mobile phone on silent? That was you, okay. So they say they're simplifying the life of sysadmins and small medium businesses with web ops and web hosting, a complete set of technical, security and automation tools in one hosting platform. They started in 2001. Plesk is running on more than 380,000 servers. It's automating 11 million plus websites and 19 million mailboxes. It's available in more than 32 languages across 140 countries. And 50% of the top 100 service providers worldwide are partnering with Plesk today. Next one is web hosting crafted with care. This is SiteGround. They provide hosting services crafted for top speed and security with 24/7 expert support. They started in 2004, so 15 years old. They've grown to 400 people and they handle 1.9 million domains. WP Engine, digital experiences platform built for growth. WP Engine was founded on the 1st of March 2010, so it's their birthday tomorrow. And they have an annual recurring revenue of $132 million. They have more than 90,000 customers globally, and they partner with 2,250 agencies. The WordPress multilingual plugin, Weglot. They translate and display your website in different languages. We're using it for the WPLDN website as well. They were founded in 2016 with around 10 employees. Weglot offers translation API for websites. The Weglot API integrates into websites within minutes through a plugin or a script. It automatically detects and translates the website's text contents. And the last of the sponsors here is Yoti. It's the new digital identity platform. Verify the identity of your website users and let them log in with their biometrics. The founders, Robin and Duncan, were at a Spartan race in 2014, where 10,000 people were queuing up to register with passports and driving licenses. The process was long, outdated, and a potential security risk, with people leaving valuable ID documents in the tent during the race. There was clearly a better way of checking who people were. So Robin, Duncan, and Noel saw an opportunity to harness the growth and advancements in biometric technologies and increasing smartphone usage to develop a digital identity solution that could be used both online and in person. And hey presto, Yoti was born. Now, as you will have very well noticed, that Yoti is also our venue for tonight. They have these headquarters here in central London. They have an office in India, and they've got a growing presence in the USA. And I believe they've given this space until the end of 2019. So thank you very much for those. So for each of those sponsors, we'll be sending tweets out tonight, I should expect. And if you could retweet those to show your appreciation, that would be very much appreciated by us. As well as our sponsors, we also have supporters. So Blue 37 is a strategic thinking team of digital experts with a creative edge, and they're based out of London and Essex. And then Paul Smart, the web design, marketing and consultancy for businesses who seek growth through digital. So, we have two speakers. The first is going to be Dan, who's usually our compere and kind of lead organizer of this meetup. He's going to be talking about WordPress, the community, and your mental health. And then our second speaker is Phil, who's going to be talking AMP at the speed of live. Before we do that, have we got any community announcements? So this is your opportunity to tell us about something that you know is happening in the WordPress industry or in the WordPress environment that you're involved with. Something perhaps in your more local community or something outside of London. Perhaps you're looking to hire. Perhaps you're looking to get hired. Have we got any community announcements?
Yeah, we're hiring. So if anybody wants a proper job rather than just contracting or doing things freelance, then definitely looking to employ an engineer who knows their way around WordPress and building custom themes.
Thank you. Have we got any other community announcements? Nope. Okay. So, coming up in how many weeks left, Dan? A few weeks. So 5th to the 7th of April is WordCamp London. Now, a WordCamp has anybody not been to a WordCamp before? Hands up. Okay, so a WordCamp is basically like a WordPress meetup, except it extends over 2 to 3 days with kind of more speakers, more activities, more chance to network, more chance to kind of learn. There's a social in there as well. It's a well worth going to. So it's the 5th to the 7th of April. If you want to find out more, you can head to this address here, 2019.london.wordcamp.org. If you haven't been to WordCamp before, then if you look on the WPLDN website from March last year, I did a talk about what to expect at WordCamp London. And obviously that was based on what we were doing for that year, but most of it's going to apply fairly similar as well. So you'll be able to look at that. So didn't like that one. So the event itself is all run by volunteers. So there is a call out for volunteers at the moment. There's lots of different tasks that are needed. So it could be volunteer for monitoring the building, registration, there's a happiness bar, room monitor, timekeeper, mic runner, green room monitor, lunch and dinner ushers, contributor day, signage, photography, and so on. So quite a few different tasks. You only, I think it's half a day max kind of that you can do as a minimum. If you want to do kind of split that tasks, split that time so that you really want to go and see a certain talk, they can accommodate that as well. So it's really a good opportunity to kind of see behind the scenes of how a WordCamp is run. And with that, you get a free ticket and a free t-shirt. In fact, it's actually 2 free t-shirts. They're both the same, but they're 2 free t-shirts. That is still open, that call for volunteers, and that ends on the 3rd of March. So you've still got a couple of days to do that. If you go to the website there, you'll see, I think it's a link in the menu at the top, call for volunteers. It's a simple form, put your name down, and then you'll be contacted afterwards. Obviously, the tickets are still on sale. The tickets are available for the main event. The contributor day, which is on the Friday, that is free if you're going to the main event anyway. And the contributor day is something not completely separate, but is a separate setup. So that is your chance to give back to the WordPress community. You don't have to be a developer. You don't have to be a designer. You could be focused on accessibility. You could speak multiple languages. You could be good with kind of writing words, marketing, and so on. So there's lots of different ways that you can contribute back. That doesn't mean you end up writing code. And also, if you think, you know what, I'd love to go to that. If it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I've got kids. How am I going to manage it? They are providing childcare as well. Tickets are like £5 for the whole of Saturday and £5 for the whole of Sunday. So there's plenty of opportunity there to go to it and not have to worry about the childcare. And I think that's, is it baby up to 14, 15, 16, something like that. So, yeah. If you want to find out a bit more or get involved with that, then you'll be encouraged to go and join the UK WordPress Slack. If you go to wpslack.uk, you'll see there's 60 public channels, and that covers kind of design, development, freelancers, job board, research, meetups such as WPLDN, WordCamps such as WordCamp London, obviously another WordCamp meetups around the country as well. And there's even one for kind of London generally. So if you're involved in London tech scene and you want to find out what other events are going on, that's where you can have a look there. And obviously that's a free account and so on. So, well, you might have noticed, February the 21st, so a week ago, it was 10 weeks after 5.0, we had the release of WordPress 5.1 called Betty Carter. It's not the biggest of releases, so it had the site health in it, parts of the site health project in it, so it's a warning if you run an outdated version of PHP. So, I can't remember what, is it 5.3, 5.6? Anybody know? 5.6. So if you're running, if your website is running on PHP 5.5, 5.4, 5.3, 5.2, then you'll get a warning to say that you really should update to the latest PHP. Speak to your hosts about that. They'll be able to kind of move you forward on that. It will also restrict, up until now, kind of plugins have been able to say, you know what, this plugin requires PHP 7.0 to say. Until now, that's just been kind of a note. Nothing has been actually implemented or used that check. As of WordPress 5.1, there is now check that will stop you installing a plugin that requires a higher version of PHP that your site is currently running on to stop those errors. There's also editor improvements, so the kind of block-based editor. There's performance and functionality improvements for that. There's also some things for developers. So kind of behind the scenes, you wouldn't really notice it as kind of as a general user, but there's multi-site metadata tables, although the only use case is something that actually got pulled out of WordPress 5.1, so at the moment it's unused, but it could be used for your custom data. There's some cron API change and improvements. There's a JavaScript reorganization and new build process. There's new plugin action hooks, a new file path, and so on. This one is 561 contributors helped to put this out there, which is either the highest or the second highest number of people who've contributed to a WordPress release. And of those, there was 231 people who were first-time contributors. Now, all of these events are possible thanks to WP and Up. That is a registered charity that has certain focuses. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I know that Dan will pretty much cover that as well. But WP and Up, they are involved with different meetups, such as London, but elsewhere as well. And Dan will cover that. Yeah, WP and Up is a registered charity with a mission to, or for promoting and supporting positive mental health within the WordPress community. And they have got some upcoming activities. We need to mention WPMU Dev. They gave a sizable donation, and they're enabling WP and Up to move forward with the activities that they want to do within the community. WPNMU Dev offer a range of plugins and themes, and they're now hosting for a fixed monthly fee. And also Green Geeks as well. Fast and scalable, eco-friendly hosting. For every amperage they pull from the grid, they invest 3 times that in the form of renewable energy. So, on to our first speaker. Oh, hang on.
Can I just add a couple of WordCamps, a couple of UK WordCamps? We've got Bristol, 17th to the 19th of May coming up. And we've also got WordCamp Brighton, has been scheduled for the 16th to the 17th of August this year.
Thank you. Okay, so even if you're not either originally from London or you're kind of out at a different venue, have a look. If you go onto the UK WordPress website, then you'll see there's an events tab, and you'll be able to look on there, see when the WordCamps are, when the regular meetups happen. So if you're off in Brighton or Leeds or elsewhere, you'll be able to see when they have their monthly meetups as well. So on to that then. Our first speaker is Dan Maybe. As well as being a co-organiser of WordPress London, WordPress Essex, WordPress Suffolk, and WordPress Liverpool, and also leading WordCamp London, or certainly co-leading. Dan is also director at Blue 37. It's a WordPress specialist agency. He's also the founder and the trustee of WP and Up, a charity that supports and promotes positive mental health within the WordPress community. So please show your welcome for Dan Maybe.
Okay, just give us a moment, we'll just change over the laptops here. This is all a little bit unusual for me because I normally wear Gary is right now. So for me to be speaking is a little bit different. And I'm also not using my laptop. Right, okay, I think we should be good to go. Welcome. I'm sorry, I need to apologise to start off with. There are a few of you that I may not have been able to say hello to this evening. Just been a little bit wrapped up in getting things set up. Just want to forewarn you before we start, this talk is going to be covering mental health as a topic. If mental health is a trigger for you, I just wanted to offer this opportunity for you to leave the room now. Won't be offended if, as I say, mental health is a trigger for yourselves. Back in 2009, I discovered WordPress. Back in 2012, I discovered the WordPress community. In 2016, I relied on the WordPress community.
We've worked from coffee shops, co-working spaces and offices. We've supported clients. We are the WordPress community.
We've hidden our fears.
We've battled internally. We've hurt the ones we love. We've put on a mask. We've questioned ourselves.
We've not been open.
We've struggled.
No one ever said it would be this hard.
We've learned new skills.
We've developed as individuals.
We've spoken out.
We've built relationships.
We've moved forward. We've overcome.
It's a lie to think you can't achieve this.
As a member of the WordPress community, I'm speaking out.
Isolation.
Depression. Anxiety.
Loneliness.
Fear.
Our community's mental health needs support.
Statistically, 1 in 6 of us will experience work-related mental health issues.
Because I'm self-employed.
Because I'm a freelancer.
Because I am a small business owner.
Because I'm a remote worker.
Because I'm a solo business owner.
That statistic increases to 1 in 4 of us.
Help us. #press forward.
WP and UP are promoting and supporting positive mental health in the WordPress community.
And now is the time to have an honest conversation about our mental health.
Join your local WordPress meetup.
Attend, volunteer, or support WordCamps.
I'm not alone.
You're not alone.
At its core, WordPress is the community.
I have a background in strategic business management. I've been self-employed for around 22 years in one form or another. In that time, I've always worked and built with teams, built teams around me. My personal WordPress journey started back around 2005. I needed to get my business, the business that I had at the time, online. And after testing a number of different options, different ways of getting the site online, I stumbled across WordPress. And as the saying goes, I never looked back. After a successful exit from my business at that time, around 2009, I decided that I wanted to change my career path. I wanted something different. I decided to focus on digital. I started freelancing and building sites with WordPress for friends, and that turned into friends of friends, and that turned into friends of friends of friends. And eventually that evolved into my business becoming more and more devoted to WordPress as a platform. The business later became Blue 37, which is the agency that I still run today. Around 2012, I wanted to connect with like-minded people, such as yourselves. I was aware of the community through social platforms, but I'd wrongly assumed back then that the community was very US focused. I then stumbled across Meetup as a platform, and I discovered the WordPress London Meetup. Keith Devon had founded this event back then, and I realised that the event was open for all. So I thought, you know what, I need to turn up. So I signed up, and I headed for my first ever WordPress event. At the time, at that first event, I was a IT director for a medical association. So I sign up and I head over to my first WordPress event full of designers and developers whilst I'm suited and booted from my day job. I felt completely out of place. I just thought this was just I was just wrong, everything about me. But actually the welcome that I received was just second to none. I'll be honest, I instantly felt like I was part of something. At that very first event that I was attending, Keith was looking for people to support the WordPress London Meetup. He was asking if anybody out there wanted to volunteer in any way, shape or form, and I'm sitting there thinking, I know nothing about this, I know nothing about what's going on here, but I'll stick my hand up. So I did, and Keith and I then had a chat afterwards, after that event. He went through and I kind of got a bit of an understanding of what to expect running an event such as this. And that was the beginning of my journey with the WordPress community. Since then, I've gone on to lead this event. I've also volunteered, organised, led, spoken at WordCamps. I've organised independent contributor days across the UK. I've run workshops. I've done quite a lot in and around the community. My time in and around the community really has allowed me to speak to a lot of individuals. I've spoken with business owners, freelancers, employees of both small and large businesses. Early in 2014, I created this Twitter handle, @WP&Up. I felt the name presented a positive connotation for an issue that I'd kind of stumbled upon a couple of times, or several times as I've been speaking with people. As a small business owner myself, I understand the challenges, the highs, the lows, and the impact that we can potentially have on ourselves from a mental health perspective. The seed for WP&Up had been sown back there. You can see that was the 29th of January 2014. But it wasn't until 2016 that the true impact for support from a mental health perspective really hit home for me personally. I've been blessed to call my wife not only my best friend, but also my business partner. Together we run our digital agency today, and as business partners and life partners, there are some challenges. Because this was our only source of income into our household, there really was some challenges for us. And I personally really struggled to distinguish between our personal lives and our business life. And that was me. That was something that I really needed to deal with. And I really wasn't. And I wasn't dealing with it well. But that wasn't the only challenge that I was facing at the time. As small business owners, we often need to learn new skills. And these new skills can often be completely unrelated to our passion. We just take a little look at some of the skills that I needed to at least have a grasp on: HTML, CSS, PHP, JavaScript, Photoshop, Illustrator, UX, UI, version control, DevOps, workflows, continuous integration. As if that wasn't enough to have a little bit of a grasp on, let's throw in some corporation tax, PAYE, VAT, national insurance. Let's get some stakeholders expectation, project management, marketing. Oh, these are huge industries within their own right. But as a small business owner, I needed to at least have an understanding of various elements of these. And it was putting a lot of pressure on me. As small business owners, as freelancers, as remote workers, the pressure really can be placed upon us. No one ever said it would be this hard. Having struggled earlier on in my younger life with addiction and all the associated issues around self-medication and the need to compensate, I really started to recognise some of the dark clouds that were forming over me back at that time in 2016. I made the mistake of thinking, you know what, I'll be okay. I can deal with this. I'll just keep going. I can do it. I'm strong enough. By late 2016, I simply couldn't. I was looking for a way out. My marriage was failing. Relationships with friends and family were strained. Things were not good. In early 2017, I travelled to India with my wife, and we recognised that we needed a break and that we needed a complete digital detox. Running a digital agency meant that I was in front of my laptop, I was in front of my phone, I was in front of a digital device all the time. From the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep, I was in front of some form of screen. I was attached in some way to the digital network. During the trip, my wife and I had the wonderful conversations as you do when you're on holiday about the future, where you're going. Obviously, at the time, we were having a lot of challenges, a lot of difficulties. So it was an opportunity for us to have some honest conversations. We decided at that moment to sell part of the business that we were running at that time, and for me to start focusing on WPN Up and start bringing something to the community. I wanted to bring something to the community that I was very aware of was needed by at least one person, me. I've given similar talks to this a number of times, and I used to get to this slide and it was always something had to change, but I'm really, really happy to say that something is changing. There's been a lot going on since that period back then, and if you'll allow me, I'll just give you a little bit of what's happened. The community has been so important to me. Without it, I wouldn't have the people in my lives today that I call friends. However, I needed more. So please say hello to WPN Up. From the seed that was planted back in 2014, WPN Up was now starting to make a bit of sense to me. It was now starting to become a thing. This number, 1179663. This number has significance. The 24th of August 2018, we got this number. It took the WPN Up team of volunteers nearly 23 weeks to get this number. Does anybody want to hazard a guess as to what this number is? Yes, absolutely. Our registered charity status. As a registered charity, we have a mission. And our mission is to support and promote positive mental health within the WordPress community. Together we can press forward. We're maintaining a very open policy within WPN Up. We want to ensure that everything we are doing is transparent. All our documentation can be viewed online. If you visit docs.wpnup.org, you'll see our business plan, you'll see our financial forecasts, you'll see our constitution, you'll see our policies if you are so inclined to go through and read those behemoth documents. You can also join the conversations on our Slack team, and the conversations that are happening within our Slack team are very much forming the future of WPN Up. So if you visit wpnup.org/Slack, you'll see the option to get yourself invited into that team. To date, WPN Up has provided very practical support in the form of financial support for those of most need. It's also provided companionship and mentorship. I still run my digital agency and it keeps me very much within the WordPress space. But my focus has changed. We're building something with more wider and positive focus now. Since 2017, a growing team of volunteers have come forward to support WPN Up. I just want to say a huge personal thank you to each and every single one of them. There are a few of them in the room this evening that have really helped shape and make WPN Up what it is today. We're currently in the process of developing our health hubs within WPN Up. Mental health related illnesses issues can manifest from many core issues. Through the work today to WPN Up, we've realised that there are 4 key areas that individuals who are working within the WordPress space, and not necessarily just within the WordPress space, whether they're freelancers, whether they're working from home, whether you're part of a distributed team. There are 4 key areas that individuals are contacting us and need support within. The WPN Up Health Hubs provide education, training and support via the Skills Health Hub, the Business Health Hub, the Physical Health Hub and the Mental Health Hub. The overarching focus for WPN Up is mental health, but the hubs allow us to focus attention in the areas of most need. Training, education and mentorship. The Skills Health Hub supports those recognising that they have a skills gap. It's important that their mental health, if their mental health is being impacted from a negative perspective in terms of that skill gap, that's where WPN Up comes in. We can actually deliver training and education services free of charge for those that are requiring it. Business mentor programs, free training. The Business Health Hub is designed to support the WordPress business community. We're made up of hundreds of thousands of small and large businesses within our community. I'm not so good on this one. The Physical Health Hub. Accountability, exercise and health advice. There's a direct correlation between our physical health and our mental health. Our Physical Health Hub is about supporting and educating. And for me, the big one, the Mental Health Hub. What's the point of doing anything that prevents you from being you? The Mental Health Hub is there for anybody that recognises they are struggling with a mental health issue. People in tech need to focus on healthy minds and healthy bodies, to write healthy code to enable them to have a healthy business. Reducing social isolation for solo business owners, freelancers, distributed team members is a key focus for WPN Up. My own personal journey back to seek like-minded individuals back in 2012 has led to the development of WPN Up. The team of volunteers are now running events across the UK every single week. We're in discussions to support our first events overseas. We've got a number of additional new events coming to the UK. If you're interested in starting, or if you would like some support with an existing event, then please do contact us. We're here to support existing meetups. We want to ensure that, and obviously new meetups, we want to ensure that there is a healthy community a healthy community out there. The team of volunteers have been doing amazing things to support their peers, their friends, their co-workers. But again, we need to do more. A King's Fund study sets the total projected cost for mental health care in England for 2026 at £88.45 billion. To give you an idea, in 2007 that figure was £48.6 billion. Loss of earnings due to mental health related illnesses are projected to be at a staggering £41 billion during 2026. Currently 4.3% of the UK self-employed workforce are diagnosed with a mental health related illness. That's equivalent to a little over 3,000 of our self-employed colleagues, friends, co-workers, people that we interact with within our industry. These are individuals that are based in the UK only with mental health related illnesses. Because they're self-employed, they often don't have a support mechanism. There's no support network available to them. And we also need to recognise that these figures are only applicable to employed individuals in the UK only that have stepped up and already sought support from a mental health professional. So there are potentially thousands of individuals still out there that are unsupported and suffering in silence. The cost of therapy can vary according to many different factors. Time with a psychologist is currently costing an average of £91 per session in the UK. But it's important to remember that cost and training do not necessarily equate to a good experience with a therapist. So now what? Almost exactly 12 months ago, the group of individuals that got together that now make up the board of trustees for WPN Up got together to work through our desires, our passions, our want to deliver something positive to the community. And it's been a busy 12 months, if I'm honest. We now have a team of, it's actually more than that. We've now got 28 volunteers that are supporting WPN Up. That's made up of trustees, advisors, event organisers and supporters. As a team of trustees, we've come together for 92 hours for meetings over the last 12 months. Put differently, that's 11 and a half days spent in meetings. If you've ever tried to register a charity, you'll know where those 11 and a half days have gone. Support calls, a huge 792 hours of support calls have been delivered over the last 12 months. All this has been delivered by unfunded, by volunteers giving their time freely to WPN Up. So just imagine what we can achieve once we're fully funded. 925 people, of which some of you are in here, have registered to attend a WPN Up event. We run events every week, encouraging all members of the community to join and support local events. But of course I don't need to tell you that because you're here. Volunteers have donated a staggering 988 hours of their time. This has allowed us to develop our skeletal services and raise awareness of the need for support for mental health within our community. Event organisers have donated an incredible 1,224 hours to deliver events across the UK. And total time donated to WPN Up in the last 12 months comes in at a staggering little over 3,300 hours. Or put differently again, 413 working days in the last 12 months. All this time has been unpaid, it's been voluntary, and it wouldn't be possible without the WordPress community. The WordPress community is you. I just want to say a big thank you to you, the community, to enable us to be able to do this. I've said it already, but it's important to say it again. I've personally taken calls recently where I'm speaking with individuals who are suffering with suicidal thoughts, who are struggling with some very, very dark issues and don't know where to turn. Time has been dedicated to them to enable them to be able to speak openly and freely about the things that they are struggling with. Unfortunately, there are many, many more people suffering in silence. So together we can press forward. I just want to say a very, very quick thank you to some companies that are enabling us to move forward. Green Geeks, web hosting that's faster, scalable and eco-friendly. Green Geeks have sponsored WPN Up and are really enabling us to move forward. WPMU Dev, your WordPress toolkits, Motional, measuring and improving emotional health and well-being, and Pragmatic, the UK WordPress agency for enterprise projects. All of these companies are enabling us to move forward and start delivering professional mental health services within our community. But again, we need to do more. We are currently seeking funding to support the team of staff to develop services that ultimately are going to deliver support on a global scale. When we start to strip that back and look at it from a global community perspective, we realise the scale of actually what we're trying to achieve here is enormous. We're looking to work with strategic partners, companies and individuals that have like-minded, have a similar mindset to us and are wanting to support our community from a positive perspective. If that's you, if that's your company, then again, we'd love to have a conversation with you. There are lots of individuals within the community that have already been donating via wpnup.org/give. And I just want to say again, a huge personal thank you to each and every single one of you that has donated directly to us. I've given similar talks within the community about mental health, and I've been humbled every single time about the response that I've received after the event, after the talk, whether it's in person at the event or whether it's online or via phone, etc., away from the event. I just want to offer this opportunity for you. If you are challenged by any of the issues that I've touched on this evening, then please do reach out. There's a need for more honest and open discussions within our community about mental health. You're not alone. It is okay to not be okay. WP Up is a community-focused service, and we'd love to hear from you. If you think you can support, volunteer, or contribute in any way, shape, or form. If you've been touched by, as I say, any of the issues that I've spoken about this evening, then please do reach out to us. I'm Dan Mabey. I can be contacted on dan@wpnup.org. I just want to thank each and every one of you for your time this evening, allowing me to come and speak and share this with you. And if you do have any questions at all, whether you want to ask them now publicly or whether you want to ask me later privately or via the various contact forms, please do reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you all very much.
Okay, has anybody got any questions? Thank you very much, Dan, by the way. I really appreciate you giving that talk. Has anybody got any questions, either about how the charity runs or something that you are either comfortable sharing about, either hypothetical or otherwise? Okay, 1 second. Yep.
Hi. Very interested in what you're up to. Slightly unclear, because looking at your hubs, it's a great idea. But I could actually do with maybe looking at a couple of them, maybe a little bit of physical health with a bit of mental health underneath it. Is that something that I could do?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the hubs are designed for, we've built the hubs based on the experiences that we've had as from individuals coming through the community so far. We've seen, if I give you a classic example of an individual coming through the health hubs, phenomenal developer, really, really good at what they do in terms of development, but they can't market themselves. They're trying to run a business and they have no understanding of how to market themselves. So their business is struggling. So from a financial perspective, they're in trouble. They're really having issues. So to be able to then look and we work through what's the issue here, what is the root cause of whether it's anxiety, depression, what's the mental health issue. If we discover that actually they are this phenomenal developer and they're trying to run a business and they just can't market themselves, then obviously we look at the Skills Health Hub and we also look at the Business Health Hub. So it's about the individual, and everything that we do is tailored for the individual. There's no kind of one-size-fits-all solution.
Because that's interesting, because actually I was thinking about my boss, because there are a couple of things. So is it, if I was able to talk to my boss and actually say, look, I've heard about this really good thing, would you like to go and have a look? Is that something could happen? Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
yes. Fine. Yeah. So we deliver services into companies that are we were able to support at a company level. But it's, as I say, at the moment we're obviously developing everything. There's a lot of work still to be completed.
Early days.
Yes, very much so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got a question. Where do you see, what do you see WP Up providing, or how will WP Up be different in a year from now? What's on your year-long roadmap?
Fantastic question. So currently we're delivering what we class as mentorship and companionship. Because we've been unfunded, we need to be very careful about the support. I need to be very careful about that word, support. We deliver companionship and mentorship because we have not had the facility to be able to deliver professional mental health services. Thanks to the companies I mentioned, Green Geeks, WPME Dev, we've been able to now start to purchase professional mental health services. And this is enabling us to really move forward in terms of what we can support, how we can support the community. Our year 2 plan, you can actually see in our business plan for year 2, we want to bring in a telephone support service system that enables individuals to contact us anonymously and tap into an on-demand support service. So again, really focused on the freelancers and the individuals within our community that may not necessarily have a support mechanism or a support network around them. That's where we see ourselves going. We've had a lot of very positive conversations with companies within our community that are actually potentially enabling us to move that timeline forward a little bit. But at this stage, we've got to be realistic about what we're trying to accomplish, and to deliver a global support service is probably a big enough task in its own right at this stage.
Excellent. Any other questions?
So the hubs, is it a physical or a virtual? What do you mean by a hub? Is it somewhere people can go, or is it that they contact? How do they look?
Sure. So the hubs themselves are the current guise are virtual hubs, and they are intended. So our skills hub, for example, we're partnering with a number of trainers and educators within our industry. We've had some really great individuals stepping up and offering to deliver educational services through our Skills Health Hub. Likewise with our Business Health Hub, it's about everything that we're doing is about partnering with strategic partners and really bringing together a pool of highly skilled, highly experienced individuals that can then impart that knowledge and share that experience and knowledge with those that come through the health hubs.
So if you play your cards right, you need help with your business, you'll get Alan Sugar on to tell you how you need to come on your business.
Sorry, just to be totally clear, if I do want to get in contact, or someone does want to get it, and they don't want to contact you directly, which is the information that you've got up there right now, because they don't feel comfortable talking to you because they know you, where would they reach out to?
Great question. wpnup.org/contact. We have a number of channels where individuals can contact us. Currently, we have a phone number that enables individuals to contact us completely anonymous via the phone. Contacting us anonymously via digital means is actually quite challenging. We do have a forum at discuss.wpnup.org. That forum, if you register on there, you can actually flip your profile and post anonymously. So if you have issues that you just want to share and just see what people are talking about, it's discuss.wpnup.org. Again, that's another anonymous channel if you prefer. But we do also have a number of other channels that include our Slack group, Facebook group, as well as direct through our website. So that's wpnup.org/contact.
Thank you. Any other questions? No?
Well, thank you very much. If you do have anything, if there is anything, if we, as I say, we've mentioned anything that's kind of sitting in the back of your mind, I could actually do with a chat, then do feel free to reach out. And you don't feel that you need to do it this evening at this event.
Okay, please show your appreciation for Dan. Thank you. Five past. We'll come back at 5 past, so you've just got over 10 minutes or so. Thank you very much. having worked as a freelancer, then for agencies, local government, and most recently as WordPress.com VIP, where he supports some of the most high-profile, high-traffic sites on the web. He's also been a caretaker of the LiveBlog plugin and has led several releases, building out impressive new features and functionality. Please show your appreciation for Phil as he talks about AMP at the speed of live.
Thanks for the beer, whoever got the beer. That's the first thing I need to say. Those among you who are eagle-eyed will notice that I may have prepared this talk recently, hence why it looks like I've built a time machine. I haven't built a time machine, I'm afraid. So I'm basically going to talk a little bit about the LiveBlog plugin and also AMP, which, if you don't know what AMP is, it stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages. It's an open source project, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means later on. So, yeah, I'm Phil. I work at WordPress.com VIP. We host high-profile, high-traffic sites. We also have a bunch of products. So one of those is LiveBlog, which is a open source WordPress plugin. Anybody can use it, as well as the sites that we host, many of which do for, nice high-profile events like maybe some that have been happening this week in the US. Regards, lawyers. So it's fun working on that stuff. So I'm just going to talk about why and how we introduced AMP support into the LiveBlog plugin. So this is, you might have seen LiveBlogs probably before. If anybody doesn't know what a LiveBlog is, I'd be surprised. They're quite common in our news sites, anything that's going on, anything that's immediate, things like football matches, things like elections, and, congressional hearings, that kind of stuff. Some media outlets even have just live blogs that run forever. They're constantly on, just constant live blogs all the time. So this is what it might look like. It's like a blog, effectively, but it's all on the one page, and every time there's something new, it just appears for you. You don't have to keep refreshing to see the new entries. And you're likely to get stuff coming in. They've got a timestamp here because, there's new stuff every other minute, sometimes quicker than that. So it's quite fast-paced. So LiveBlog is there to kind of help website owners to run these kind of things. It makes it very easy. It also makes it very easy at scale. So this is the kind of mission of LiveBlog, effectively. And you'll see I've highlighted a couple of bits there. So live, large, distributed audience. Those are some of the key bits that I want to talk about today. So what is AMP? Has anybody heard of or used AMP? Okay, good, great. So AMP is this is the kind of the mission statement for AMP as well. So I've highlighted some other bits in there too, because again, you see you've got fast and high performance. So we're seeing some parallels there with LiveBlog. It stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages, like I said. And it's basically intended to, it's an open source format, so it's been developed as something that is an independent project that anybody can contribute to, although the nature of it is that, like Android, it's very much Google spearheaded. The AMP team is very much full of people from Google. But it's open source. It's intended to be lightweight, so the idea is that what it does is it enables you to make lightweight web pages. So one of the problems web has generally at the moment is that lots of times you've got pages that are full of adverts or other stuff, and it kind of gets heavy. We keep doing this thing where we get faster and faster connections, and we just kind of fill it up as soon as we get it. So AMP is intended to make everything a bit more lightweight, and because of that, we get higher performing pages. So things are quicker. We can do more at a higher speed. And that's great when you've got a website that's kind of high traffic, or if you've got something going on that lots of people are going to look at, like, for example, a live blog. So there's kind of three main bits to it. The first is that there's a HTML standard. And so it's kind of, if you imagine you've got the HTML standards that come out from W3C, AMP kind of does the same sort of thing. It's kind of like a subset. It says you can use these HTML tags, you can't use these ones. You have to do this in a certain way. So for example, you can't use just a normal image tag. You've got to use the AMP image tag. So it defines a few rules around what you can and cannot do. And then there's a JavaScript library. You can't use your own JavaScript. There's a JavaScript library behind it, so every single AMP page loads the same JavaScript library and powers a bunch of stuff, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then there's also the cache aspect of things. So what you get is, you may have seen this before, you may have visited a search result, and you realise you're not actually on the website that you thought you were on. You're not on The Guardian, you're on cdn.ampproject.org. You're like, what's that? It's because that's an AMP cache. So what it is, it's a cached version of the AMP page that you're on. And what that means is it's a bit faster than perhaps the original source. So this is the other component to AMP. We're not going to go too much into that, but it's worth knowing. So why add AMP support into LiveBlog? Well, let's look at those keywords I highlighted earlier again. You know, we've got a live event that we want to deliver really fast to a large distributed audience, and we want it to perform really well. So these two things really tied together nicely. The aims of LiveBlog and the aims of AMP really tie together quite nicely. So that made a lot of sense for us to put it in. So how do we do it? The HTML standard that I mentioned earlier includes a very specific standard for how to run a live blog. So we've got this thing called the AMP live list. So with our live blog, what we do is we wrap everything in this AMP live list element. And what that does is that tells AMP, the JavaScript library that loads up, that we've got a live blog in here. It says, okay, this bit of the page that we've loaded up into the browser is a live blog. So you need to treat it in a different way to you would a normal bit of a page. And then within that, what we do is we have an update element, and that's essentially a button. And all that does is it pops up when there's new entries, and tells the user that there's new entries, and the user can click on it, and it loads the new entries in. And then obviously you've got the items, the actual entries, the live blog entries that are coming in. And they get wrapped in an items element. And optionally, you can also have a pagination element. So if you've got a long live blog, you want to paginate through instead of displaying it all at once, which is good because you don't want to have a huge page all the time. And so this is how it works. We've got our live blog here. We're finding out all about how expensive the new iPhone is, and maybe we're using Chrome because why would you use Safari? And then we've got the JavaScript library. So the JavaScript library is literally just sitting there, and it's communicating with the server, and it's saying to the server, have you got any more data? And one of the things that's interesting with AMP is, so the way, if you look at LiveBlog and you run a live blog and you watch what happens when the live blog's running in a normal kind of HTML, not an AMP format, it will be sending loads of API requests to WordPress. It will be using the normal WordPress API, and it will be asking for data, and it will get back JSON data. And what that is just the entries, the new entries that have come in since it last checked, and it will then render those. And what AMP does actually, it just goes to the document. It just asks for the full document again. But what it's doing is it's checking if it's actually updated or not. And if it has updated, it just figures out what's new and just renders what's new. So it works a very different way, and that's what the JavaScript library does for you. So actually all you need to do to run a live blog with AMP is just create HTML markup. You don't need all of the JavaScript stuff. You don't need to be able to have great API endpoints and poll an API with a certain interval and make sure it's performant. It actually takes a lot of the grunt work out of it for you. So that's what the AMP JavaScript library is doing for you. So what we did with the LiveBlog plugin effectively is just enable that to happen through LiveBlog. So LiveBlog has effectively two modes of running. One, it can do the bit where we've done the heavy lifting for you of creating API endpoints and polling those endpoints in a way that is performant and won't just tank your site if you've got loads of people hitting it. But also we've got the way where you can we offload that to AMP within the plugin and let AMP do all that heavy lifting. So it's actually really easy. Easy peasy. I can say this because I actually didn't do the development. Somebody else did. But what's great is there's an AMP plugin for WordPress, which was originally developed by an agency called XWP, a bunch of very clever people. Some of them actually now work for Google. on the AMP team. And what the AMP plugin does is it's really amazing. What it does is you can switch it on. It's not a magic bullet, but you can turn it on and you can tell your theme. You can say you can add AMP support to your theme, and it will just convert your theme to be AMP compatible. It will make it an AMP theme. Now, obviously, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen to do that. It's basically looking through all the HTML that gets output from WordPress, and it turns it into AMP HTML, which is quite a big ask, but it does it really well in some cases, and it gets you really, really, really far, and then you just kind of need to tweak it. So we basically just took advantage of that, and we said, oh, right, then all we need to do is get LiveBlog to output a bunch of HTML, and we know that the AMP plugin will just convert it. So that's what we did. I say we. It was Big Byte. So Big Byte are a very good agency, and they're really good at what they do, and they're a VIP featured partner. So I work with them a lot in my job, and they're fantastic. And they did all the actual grunt work. They wrote the code. So yeah, they're very good at what they do. And so I say easy peasy. It kind of was. And if you go and look at the pull request that they put together, it's only 1,000 lines of code. Like, it's only 1,000 lines code changed in the whole plugin to enable AMP support. It's pretty impressive, and that's mostly thanks to that AMP plugin that does much of the legwork for you. And so what you'll see then in the LiveBlog plugin is you'll see that there's a folder called templates, and within that there's a folder called AMP, and within that there's a few PHP files, and one of them, for example, has this in it, and you can see the AMP live list element that I talked about earlier. You can see the update element that I talked about earlier. And then there's a items element. They're obviously not actual elements. The other two are just attributes on the existing element. And that's kind of all you need to do. So that's very, very, very simple. And once we load that in the browser with the AMP.js library, the AMP.js library picks up on that, and it knows what to do with it, and it just gets on with that job. So it's really, really simple to do. And that's it. So I wanted to just let you know how we did that, and show you how easy it can be to use AMP, how we did it with LiveBlog, and why we did it, because it made such sense for that kind of page, that kind of feature on a website. And if you've got any questions, I'll happily take them.
Thanks, Philip. Really interesting, actually. So I've heard of AMP before, but I've never really done much investigation with it. So what's being delivered into the browser is that this AMP HTML then, which is like a subset of HTML. Did I get that right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's basically, I mean, yeah, WordPress still produces HTML. It's just that there's a little extra bit in, so there's extra elements like the AMP live list, and there's the extra little attributes. So all we're really doing with the LiveBlog plugin is kind of just adding those in on top of it, and then the JS just kind of deals with it.
Thank you. So I suppose my angle would be, because I've not looked at this in any detail, do you know of any implications about how, like in the browser, how like assistive technologies might interpret this cut down version of HTML?
Should have known you would ask about that. No, I don't, but it would be a good thing to look into.
I think I might.
So if you want to look into that, I will help you. This is my answer.
Thanks, Phil. Cheers. Sorry to put you on the spot, mate.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so my question is really, where does it get the source of the blog content that it's rendering? And obviously, presumably it's getting stuff from your own site. Does it pull in stuff from Twitter and other social media or other blogs elsewhere? Is that configurable?
So at the moment, LiveBlog, so what will happen is when you use LiveBlog, you get an editor. So you actually see the LiveBlog itself, and at the top of it, if you're logged in and you're able to, you've got permissions, you'll have a little editor where you can write entries. So that's how you get the content. So people who are on the site and who can edit the LiveBlog, so for example, if it's running on a news website, if it's running on our, what was it called? Gizjet.com. If you're a Gizjet.com editor, I didn't come up with that, by the way. If you're one of the editors on there and you've got permissions, you know, you're one of their reporters, then you will see a little box up here that nobody else sees, where you just write your content, just like you would like something similar to sort of Tiny MCE, the editor in WordPress. You just write your content in there and then you publish it. But you can also do things like drop images in there, and you can do embed tweets and Facebook posts and that kind of stuff, just like you would a normal WordPress post, basically. And then you click update, and it appears for you and for everybody else who's watching.
Okay, so it's basically the blogs that you've got on your own site.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah.
Hi, Phil. So my question is regarding, first of all, when you started talking about live blog, live updating, all that, I would say, wow, that's awesome. We could use this. But then you said pagination. And I was like, oops. Because I've seen this before. It's like you have this piece of content that updates live, and they have this pagination. What happens? If you've received a couple of updates since you're on that page, and then you go on page 2, the whole offset thing gets confused, and then you go on page 2 and somehow you see the last 3 posts that were on page 1 because those are now on page 2 and stuff like that. So I was wondering, have you found a solution for this, or if not, is there something else, like except going to next page, previous page, is it like an Ajax, like load more or something?
Yeah, so we had this problem already, and the way we did it is we decided that if you're on page 1, so say you're on page 1 and the last entry the first entry you see at the top is entry 20, okay? So there's 2 pages of 10 entries. So you then move to page 2, so you're seeing entries 1 to 10, and then a new entry comes in, so entry 21 comes in. And so the question then is, what do we do? Do we update what you see and knock entry 1 onto a 3rd page, and then all of a sudden everything, what you see changes? Or do we wait? And if we wait, how do we deal with that? So what we decided to do is we decided to wait. So if you're on page 2 and you see entries 1 to 10, you move back to page 1, you see entries 11 to 20. What you'll see then is a little thing telling you that there are updates. And you click on that, and entry 21 will drop in at the top. Entry 11 will drop off onto page 2, and page 3 will be created with entry 1 on. So we don't make things change for you unexpectedly. We remember where you are, remember what was on what page for you when you first got there, and then we make you deliberately say, change what I'm seeing, so that it's not unexpected and you don't get jerked around and it's not weird for you.
Great explanation. Yep.
Thank you. Picking up on that though, in the same way that if I'm looking at my Twitter stream and there's a tweet that I want to like save and reference to other people, does each individual entry in there have like some kind of persistent URL then?
Yeah, so we actually added that recently.
Okay,
I think possibly at the same time as the AMP stuff. Yeah, we added that. So each entry itself has its own unique permalink. Mostly so that we can share like individual entries in things like Facebook.
Yeah. All right, magic. Thanks.
Any other questions about AMP or live blog?
Does your plugin allow people to post things without being logged in? Are there any API endpoints? So, for example, if someone was, you didn't actually want to give them access to the website, is there any way, for example, you could set up a Slack channel and then give them access to that and then post into the website using their API?
I mean, so it uses the normal WordPress capability
Right,
system.
okay.
So whatever you can do with that, you can do with live blog.
So you could create those custom posts essentially, or however the data's stored without, but then it would still display it on the page.
Yeah, and so we added a long time ago. We added REST API support.
Right.
So there are create, update, delete endpoints in the API. So you could create a thing that would enable you to create live blog entries via Slack or IRC or whatever you want. Yeah.
So I have another question. In the beginning, you mentioned about how if there's like this really popular event, like a sports event, and then there's a journalist standing behind the computer updating every minute and so, and there's like an audience of, I don't know, 1 million people following that. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but anyway, that's like a lot of strain to put on the server. So I was wondering what solution you came up with to optimize the process.
So live blog on its own is reasonably performant, but obviously if you've got lots and lots, like if you've got 1 million, I mean if you've got 1 million then that's amazing, but if you've got lots and lots of people all hitting the live blog at once, then what's happening is that every single browser, so all of those million browsers, are all asking the server for stuff constantly. And we've gone through different iterations about how that works. And really you can't just do that just on its own. You kind of need a good hosting infrastructure as well at the same time. So this is one of the things that we do on VIP, is make sure that that's really good. But with LiveBlog itself, what it does is it normalizes. So when LiveBlog polls for new entries, it does that in a way that it normalizes, so that if you've got 1 million people all requesting new entries, they're all using the same URL. Every single one of them uses the same URL to ask for new entries. And what that means is, and it's based on a timestamp, so it will say, you know, anything within the last 60 seconds or whatever. But every single user is asking for the same URL. And what that means is we can very easily use page caching. So there are lots of page cache solutions, so things like W3 Total Cache, W3 Super Cache, Back Cache, or just something like Varnish, which is what we use at VIP. That will enable you to cache that URL, so that actually when you've got 1 million people hitting that URL at once, only a small proportion of those, relatively, actually ends up hitting your server and kicking off PHP and kicking off the MySQL queries and all that kind of stuff. Most of them get a cached response served up by something in front of WordPress. So they don't end up, using up loads of CPU and memory of your server. So you've got this separate caching layer in front that serves that up instead. And that's a lot quicker, a lot less resource intensive, and that's a lot quicker for the user as well. So that's how you deal with the scale.
Are you also throttling the number of requests somehow?
No. You have to, if you throttle the requests, then you basically just slow it down for the user. So what you have to do is make sure you can deal with the number of requests, and that you do that through efficient caching.
So you've got this live you've added support to it. What are you going to add to it over the next year? What's on the roadmap?
The honest answer is I don't know. What I would like to do, ideally, I think, so at the moment, the editor that you use to create live blog entries is a React-based editor. So a while ago, we had this editor which was okay. It wasn't amazing. It was good when it came out. But we were talking to people who were using it, and they were saying, well, we want to be on the red carpet, and taking photos of the stars and uploading it straight to LiveBlog, and we can't do it because it just doesn't work. So all right, we need to build a mobile-friendly UI. And at the time, the obvious solution was to use React. So we built a new editor in React. And it's great, it works, it does the job and all that kind of stuff. But now we're maintaining this editor of our own. Yeah, we could have try and use TinyTMC, but I don't think that would have really worked. We're maintaining our own editor, and WordPress recently got this whole new editing experience, which is really great. And it's, funny enough, it's about using React. So there's this whole community of people building this amazing editor. I'm like, well, why build our own? Why maintain our own if we could use this fantastic editing experience that actually anybody who's using WordPress is going to be very, very familiar with? Why not just use that for the live blog too? So that would be my ideal. And I think that would be, and LiveBlog has always had a front-end editor, so you edit it on the front, whereas most people obviously are used to editing in WP Admin. So I think using Gutenberg as the editor for LiveBlog would enable us to do it either on the front or the back. I'd like to do it on the front just because I'd like the challenge of trying to put Gutenberg on the front end. I mean, people have done it. Front-and-Berg is a great example. Someone which is our colleague Tom built I mean, it's not, you know, it's like, yeah, you probably wouldn't use it seriously in production, but anyway, it's a good, you know, proof of concept. So I'd love to be able to do that and actually build something where you could use Gutenberg on the front end in production, and it'd be really safe and secure.
Any other questions? Okay, please show your appreciation for Phil. Thank you. Okay, we're actually a little early today, so we'll have a bit of time of networking. We don't have to leave straight away. We've got this place till 9. So yeah, we can hang around after that. Quick thank you to our sponsors. We have SiteGround, WP Engine, Plesk, Weglot, and Yoti. I've already seen the tweets go out thanking them. So if you look on the WPLDN Twitter account, you'll find that tweet, plus a whole load of photos as well. Please retweet that so they get some exposure and continue to sponsor us. Thank you very much. We have a way for you to give us feedback. There are a maximum of 4 questions on there. Very simple questions, just to give us an idea about kind of who is coming to these events. So if you go to wpldn.uk/feedback, you'll find it there. Our next event is the 28th of March. So it's the last Thursday of every month. Maybe December, but otherwise it's the last Thursday of every month. 28th of March is your next one, so save that date. And as and when we get there, either early or at 9 o'clock, we'll go for a social. So we're here at Yoti at the moment, so go out of the building, turn right on the main road, walk along to the traffic lights and turn right up Grace Church Street, and it's the Cross Keep just on the left hand side there. So you're more than welcome to come and join us, be social, ask the speakers questions that you might not have wanted to kind of ask in public. Obviously, socialise, network, all good. Anybody got anything else to add since we've got a couple of minutes? Nope. In which case then, thank you very much and we'll see you later.